I'm Tom Baker, this is Chasing Cars, and today I'm driving the brand new generation of a large SUV that Australians love. This is the new Mazda CX-9, and the long-awaited second generation car has a few key changes. Underneath this sleek new exterior lies an impressively upmarket interior, and there's also a downsized turbo 4-cylinder engine under the bonnet. Well, with sales of the new model charging ahead, we borrowed this $53,000 touring all-wheel drive model for a week to see whether or not it is the sweet spot of the range. The other question we were asking is whether or not the Mazda CX-9 has remained one of the absolute best mainstream 7-seat SUVs that you can buy. So jump in with me now out of the rain and let's find out. First impressions really count when you hop into a car, and Mazda clearly recognise this. Jump into the new CX-9 and it looks and feels more like an Audi Q7 than one of this car's mainstream rivals. And that Audi is double the price of the CX-9. The dash is just bang on for 2017. You sit behind this lovely MX-5 inspired steering wheel. The leather look dash top is really nice and premium, and the 8-inch media screen is really classy. And while it is actually a touchscreen, the main way that you use it is via the rotary dials and hard buttons down here for the menus and volume. Well, they say that good artists copy and great artists steal, and pinching this method of inputting data to the screen from Audi and the other German brands was a really bold move that I think has paid off for Mazda, because it makes this CX-9 feel really upmarket. You sit on these large and soft leather seats up here that do also have heating, although ventilation would probably be even more appropriate for the Australian summer, which isn't always like this. And while they are nice and comfortable, if you have long legs like me, you might find that there isn't quite enough adjustment on the seat base to really make your knees comfortable. However, smaller drivers will be absolutely fine. And the CX-9 is a fairly practical car for a vehicle of this size up front. So there's a nice big deep cubby ahead of the shifter. There's good sized cup holders, a nice split central bin with 2 USB ports, and also decent sized door bins down here as well. The CX-9 measures in at over 5 meters in length, and that officially makes it a bit of a tank, but you do get a huge payoff here in the back because there's really good room for rear seat passengers. So you can see that for me at 6 foot, I've got really good headroom, and I do have really good legroom sitting behind myself as well, which I can increase by sliding the seat back a little bit. And I've got good room for my toes as well. So there's altogether heaps of room back here, and you can even imagine dozing off on a road trip in this car, particularly if I recline the bench, which actually goes quite a way back, which is really nice. Plus your passengers back here have their own climate control, plus this fold down armrest, which has 2 cup holders and a tray with 2 more powered USB ports. So the kids will be able to plug the iPad in back here and be absolutely happy and nice and quiet on a road trip as well. Of course, one of the main points of buying a car of this size is to get a nice generous third row seat. And I'm happy to report that the one in the Mazda CX-9 is actually pretty good. Firstly, it's really easy to get in because these second row seats fold well and truly out of the way. I'll just pop it back now so you can see what kind of room I've got to work with. And even for me as a 6 foot adult, I would be fine back here for a short trip. There's just enough headroom for me. There's okay legroom as well, so this is a fantastic amenity for smaller children and even for occasional use by adults. Open up the CX-9's boot, which is actually manual on this car, with higher grades getting an electric tailgate, and you'll find that even if you need all 7 seats at once, there's still a decent amount of space left over, so you can easily get a small suitcase, a decent sized grocery shop, or the school bags behind the third row. But if you do need more room, you can easily fold those seats from right here in the boot. They're nice and light, and that gives you more than 800 litres of space behind the second row, which is absolutely huge. Plus you get a couple of shopping bag hooks, which is great. Of course, if you do need a huge van-like amount of room, you can drop the second row as well. And the fact that this car is pretty large means that you can get a heck of a lot of flat pack furniture or the like in there. If you own the old CX-9, you'll notice a number of positive changes if you take the new car for a drive. Virtually every aspect of how the CX-9 drives has changed, and the biggest one of those changes relates to the new engine. Under the bonnet of the old car was a big V6, but here we've got a downsized 2.5 litre turbo 4-cylinder. Compared to the V6, there is less power, but there's quite a bit more torque. Officially, we've got 170 kilowatts here, but if you treat the car to 98 octane petrol, it will actually produce 186 kilowatts of power. And the 420 Newton meters of torque makes the CX-9 feel really strong on hills. Downsizing the engine has been good for fuel economy, though this is still a heavy SUV with only a petrol engine and no diesel option. So we've been getting about 12 litres per 100 kilometres in the city and just over 8 litres per 100 kilometres on the highway. Certainly not bad numbers, and definitely better than the old car. The CX-9 is still one of the most engaging large SUVs to drive as well. The steering is nice and natural, and there's certainly less body roll than in some rivals. You aren't going to confuse it for an MX-5, but the CX-9 definitely doesn't mind being hustled down a country road. It's also quite manoeuvrable in town, so the steering gets really nice and light at low speeds, and it's got a good reversing camera. However, this CX-9 Touring doesn't get front parking sensors, and learning the length of that really big nose on this car can be a bit tough without them. The other big change is to the refinement levels. The new CX-9 is just so much quieter and smoother than the outgoing car. Road noise in particular has been significantly decreased, and that makes the big Mazda a much more comfortable and relaxing car to take on long road trips, either on the highway or on rougher roads. There's also a decent level of safety tech across the range, so every CX-9 comes with blind spot monitoring and autonomous emergency braking that works going forwards or in reverse. However, if you want the latest safety kit, things like active cruise control and lane keep assist, then there's no option other than to get the top of the range CX-9 Azami. Some cars get a little bit better in their second generation, and then there are cars like the Mazda CX-9, which make a giant leap in refinement and packaging over the original model. I was really impressed by this car, which blends generous family practicality with enough driving fun left over to make you happy as a driver. When you need 7 seats, you can't ask for much more than that.